Hello, I am Nova SC, and I'm going to try and give you a guide into the compositions of Protoss versus Protoss when the two Protosses collide. So, this army is as an immortal Archon army, as you can see here. 6 immortals, 6 Archons. This army here is a Zealot Archon Colossus army, which is the choice composition of Wings of Liberty. And in recent days, this has been the composition of choice in Heart of the Swarm, and that confuses me. Though I love this composition, I think it's amazing. I'm surprised why people still don't use this sometimes. Well, they do, but I'm surprised why they don't use it more, because in Wings of Liberty, it was very much a mass colossusing style with the odd few Archons and maybe some Zealots to reinforce. So it was this composition pretty much, but less rounded. Very much more Colossus heavy. So, on a very recent Day 9 daily, he showed in this very tester that this composition outright just crushes this composition. So, here's a test I have here. So we've got exactly the same minerals, exactly the same gas, and this side actually has a supply advantage. And so, we're going to give the side thermal lance, and other than that, the only advantage this side has is it costs a robotic space. That's 400 minerals, 400 gas. So those minerals and gas are going to be spent on something else for this player. So let's say it gets put into upgrades. And there we go. So I've given it 1 shield and 2 weapons. So that's 100, 100 plus 150, 150 plus 150, 150. So that's 400, 400. So now we're both even on upgrades. We spent the same amount on upgrades. So let's see how well these two do. How these guys do against each other. So I'm going to do no micro to make this fair. Just going to A-click. And we're going to see that these immortals are going to do extremely well, just stupidly well. Of course both players have the same amount of Archons, so that's not going to make much difference, but we're seeing here that the immortals make a huge difference to the game. And our immortal Archoning player is the victor, because of the immortals obviously. So it goes without saying that Archons are fantastic in PvP, and most compositions require the Archon. And that's because they have so much HP, which makes them perfect to absorb the big hits that Protoss units deal out. In fact, they don't have an armor rating. They're not light or massive, so they don't do They don't receive additional damage from immortals or things like oracles. Though they're not going to be used in threat strike engagements anyway. But yeah, enemy attacks aren't going to be doing additional damage to Archons very often. They're also very big. So things like Colossus don't do much splash damage to a clump of Archons compared to a clump of Zealots, and it's also the reason why Immortals are so good, because they're so big, and they also do like huge amounts of damage, and they're practically 2 Stalkers combined into 1, and so they're very good use of supply, and they get a much better armor bonus, a much better bonus versus armored than Stalkers do. So now let's think about it. Let's think about it a bit more. So this is where Day 9 stopped. But I've played a lot of Protoss versus Protosses where I've incorporated a few Colossus, and I've just outright smashed this composition, just destroyed this composition. So why on earth is it happening? Is it not going that way in here, in this test, when they're so fair? Where the test is so fair. So this time I'm gonna set the. Oh, I mean, I've done this wrong. Okay. This time I'm going to give everyone really good upgrades. I'm going to give both sides absurd upgrades. So I'm going to give them. Okay, so now I've given them 3, 2, 3. Both sides 3, 2, 3. So the extra 400 minerals and gas that we require to make Colossus, I'm ignoring that because I'm considering the late game when players are on 3 or more bases. Well, I'd say 4 or more bases really, and when the 400 minerals and 400 gas aren't as important, and they can be considered an investment into making your army more cost effective throughout many engagements. So let's see how much of an effect this investment makes on the battle when our upgrades are even, which they will be eventually at some point in the game as we get further and further into the late game. So 7 attacking to each other now. You can see that all of our Colossus survived, and even an Archon. So now, for the same resource cost, the Colossus are winning. So we can actually see that in the late game, when we're on mini bases, and the 400/400 can be considered an investment, and it's not a big impact on your army size, then the Colossus are winning, and that just means that we can start off with this composition in the mid game, which we see a lot of pro players do. But then, as we gradually tech up, we add on the robotics base slowly. We add on the extended thermal lance upgrade, and we do this while we're adding on our own upgrades, adding on the basic ground upgrades and the shield upgrades. Then we can see that the Colossus are actually winning. So yes, mid game, Immortal Archon, and then late game, Colossus, Immortal, Zealots. Because when you actually think about it, these Immortals aren't dealing their additional damage versus armoured, because they're going to be only attacking the Immortals and the Archons and the Zealots, which neither are considered armoured. The advantage they have is that they have their shield, which significantly reduces the damage that they're being dealt to, especially especially the Archons, the damage the Archons are going to be dealing to them. So mid game, late game, but then as we reach equal supply, when we both players max out, we can see that this supply differential here is going to be kicking in. That's going to make a big difference. So that's when this composition becomes strong again, weirdly, because you're going to be wanting, you're going to be wanting to make the most out of your supply. I was going to try and do this in one part, but I keep making a lot of mistakes with my words, but I'm going to carry on. Okay, I'm doing alright. So in that situation, we're going to be wanting Immortals and Archons again, because we're going to have a huge 200/200 army fighting up against each other. But then, after this, and once we're in this situation for a while again, we can slowly start to transition out of these Immortals to put in tempests, which is a really weird thing to do. It feels really weird, especially when you're not against Colossus, which you think is the only real use of tempests. But tempests only cost 4 supply, just like the Immortals. But tempests are so much more cost efficient, and they're always attacking because of their ridiculous range. Plus, they have the benefit of completely shutting down Colossus and carriers, and other tempests. Obviously, that's why tempests are so good. Okay, so now I'm going to clear this and open up another test that I've designed earlier. So I did 7 tempests. You have to bear with me, sorry. 8 Archons. And 20 Zealots. And that goes up to 100 supply, which is more of a late game composition, more of a late game size of an army. It's going to be even bigger than that because probes you're not going to have 100 probes, but 100 is such a nice number. So I did 10 Archons on this side. That's 16. What am I doing? 16. Okay, 10 Archons on this side. I just kept going as I was looking at my page. 18 Zealots. Not that many. That's why I do this slowly. 4 Colossus. Okay, so it's 100 supply versus 100 supply, and the gases are pretty much even. This side has more minerals though, because tempests are very mineral heavy, and to complement the minerals we need, the tempests, we need lots of zealots, which aren't ideal in the late game, but you can't really avoid it when you're making so much gas heavy stuff, the Archons and the tempests, so you can't really avoid that sort of thing. The minerals are more on this side, but that doesn't really matter, because in the late game you can have more minerals than you can really use. It's all about the gas and the supply, which are the main factors at that point in the game. So I'm going to give them their important upgrades. I've already given the side extended thermal lance 333. Might as well give them the the third shield. Very few people do it, but I like to get it because I think it's pretty useful. Now I'm gonna give both sides charge, and I'm gonna give them the Tempest just a one attack because a lot of players get that one attack because it is really cost effective for 100 minerals and gas. But then later into the late game you can be adding on more air weapons and upgrades. But just for now, because very few people prioritize those upgrades, I'm going to just do this test as we have it. So 100 versus 100. And when I was testing this out, these because of the Tempest range, they attack immediately. So I'm just going to have to micro all this really quickly. So let's go. One attacks here, two attacks here, and I'm going to have the Tempests. All the micro I'm going to do is have the Tempests shoot the Colossus. So they obviously deal with the Colossus very quickly. In fact, there's more Tempests than I needed to deal with those Colossus. So you'd have thought this army would have a disadvantage. But no, they're pretty damn good against the Archons as well. The Archons don't deal any additional damage to Tempests because they're not biological, and neither do the Tempests do additional damage to the Archons, but they just deal a lot of damage. Nice 33 damage there. So as I've shown you now successfully, hope you can agree. In the mid game, Immortal Archon is the ideal army of choice. Then as you progress into the late game, you're going to be wanting this, so it's Archon Colossus army. And then as you max out, Immortal Archon again. And then as you progress into the late game, even further into the ultra late game, after being maxed out for a while, you're going to be wanting these Tempest guys because they are so cost effective. And I'm just going to do one more test. I haven't actually tried this, so this could go awfully. I'm going to kill off these Colossus and actually put more, maybe I might put more Archons, because Tempest shouldn't do very well against Archons. Actually even better, I'm going to put Immortals to show you that how this composition is better than Immortal Archon. Even better. So I've put, Immortals instead of Colossus, and this should show you how this is better than just going Immortal Archon. Let's try it. And this side does have is less costly though, so maybe I should give it some upgrades. Give it an advantage in upgrades to account for that. So I'll take away. I'll take away the size shields. Actually, no. I'm going to try to be as fair as possible. I'm going to take away this guy's armor. I'm going to take away 2 of this guy's armor to account for God damn it. I think 2 of this side's armor to account for the difference in resources, even though the difference in resources aren't as important as the supplies. Okay, I think that's fair enough. I think I'm happy with that. So I'm going to show you this very last test because this game is going on quite a long time. this test. Okay, so have them attacking into each other. This time there's no focus firing to be done with the Archon, with the Tempests. Let's see how well they do. So the Immortals are shooting through these Archons very quickly. Oh my god! Oh my god! This is close. Oh my god! So the Immortals have killed this side's Archons really quickly, and the Archons are better against these Archons than the Tempests. So this is coming out really close. Oh my god! So this is closer than I was expecting it. But you're going to have to take my word for it, Tempest is pretty good in the late game. And you've got to take into consideration that this is +1, +0 at this point. Okay, there we go. And obviously this side's going to reinforce with Stalkers to help finish these off. So this wasn't a fantastic test, but I hope you get the idea that Tempest is good. So I should probably leave it there. Doing a test that I haven't tested before isn't a good idea. But anyway, hope you enjoyed this game, or this these experiments, and yeah, I hope you took something away from it. I'll link some other videos in the description, such as the Daneland Daily, which inspired me to do this. And yes, please watch those videos. Goodbye!